on, once you have accomplished the first function of an introductory paragraph and gotten your reader's attention and convinced them to read past the first sentence or a couple of sentences, you next want to give some background information and continue to develop their interest in the topic. As I said before, I don't want you assuming that your reader is going to come to this essay with as much awareness of the topic as what you have now that you've done a little bit of research on it. So give them the context in which you're going to be presenting the future information that you have in the body paragraphs. So thinking about that introduction that started with the statistic about organic farming, the introduction goes on to explain a little bit about what organic farming is, gives that background, and then also begins to hint at the problem or the question that is going to lead us toward a thesis statement. So we have, as far as background, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, certified organic farms cannot apply synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides, or plant bioengineered seeds. In lieu of chemical products, organic farmers employ manure, compost, and crop rotation to fertilize soil, spray plant-based pesticides, and spend more time tilling to remove weeds. This is my background, and it kind of also serves to explain a little bit about organic farming. And then starting to maybe pique the interest of my reader, I could say, as the number of acres converted to organic farming increases, so do the questions about its impact on food production. And then we can assume that we're going to be getting a thesis statement that takes a position on whether or not organic farming is having a positive or a negative impact in this area. Okay, another example to give background and develop interest. This comes from a student paper on government subsidies of agriculture, and he starts with just the idea of an incident. Small farms that once dotted the landscape and built the backbone of this great country are dwindling. At one point in the history of the United States, family farming was center stage at providing thousands of families with an adequate life. Now, less than 1% of the population makes a living farming. High operating costs and expensive land prices have weeded out many small farmers who found it very difficult to make a profit. Government-sponsored subsidies have ushered in a new era of large corporate farms that have obtained control of land prices and agricultural production, suffocating the small farmer. So we're giving a little bit of background about the idea of family farming and introducing the context of the loss of the family farm and relating that to the government subsidies, and then finally leading towards a thesis statement where we're taking a position on government subsidies. The government policies of agricultural farm subsidies have to be changed in order to assure the livelihood and well-being of small farmers. Okay, so all of that blended and built towards a thesis statement. Now, as you're giving your background and developing the interest, you're also trying to establish a rapport with your readers and set a tone for your essay. Here we have an essay that was looking at the importance of multicultural education, bringing in more awareness of other cultures and other languages into U.S. education. She starts with the statement, society is constantly striving to make today better than yesterday. From economic and healthcare reforms to environmental and religious beliefs, we try to improve upon every aspect of life. Moving forward is a universal goal. And the reason I've got that in yellow there for you is because I think it emphasizes how she's trying to connect to the reader, indicating that I'm talking about something everybody can believe and a feeling that everybody shares in, and that way trying to get the reader thinking that, oh yeah, I do want to move forward. I think the same way this author thinks. Whether that might be the case later on or not is debatable, but it's kind of a subtle trick of wordplay to convince the reader, oh yeah, I agree with this author. I think this way too. She goes on to say, in the United States, we seem reluctant to believe that learning more than one language is important. By using we, she's sort of including herself with the rest of them, and that's a way of saying, see, I'm no different than you, and so if I've come to believe this other way, surely you'll be able to as well. And again, another important statement: unless we realize that our country is becoming more and more diverse as the days go on, the nation's economy will continue to move forward as we fall behind. Touching into kind of a universal fear that the United States is falling behind other countries. Again, using that we, okay, and suggesting that everyone needs to realize this, and again, suggesting that she started where everyone else did, but has now come to a realization, and all of this leading towards a strong thesis statement. Although there are some problems while learning a language, the benefits of interethnic school systems are limitless. And in order to bridge the language gap, school systems should display an attitude of cultural competence as well as implement multilingual immersion programs into their curriculum. So you can see that this is going to be an essay that's going to talk about not only what cultural competence is, but how school systems can develop it, and also how they can develop multilingual immersion programs. So it's a pretty ambitious topic, an ambitious paper. Okay, so once you have gotten our interest, you've given us some background, you've established a rapport, also keep in mind that you are guiding us to the thesis statement. Okay, everything is building towards the thesis. The thesis definitely should not come out of nowhere and seem, to relate to a different topic. So this example works from a paper about Hurricane Katrina, and we start with some background information. Within 5 years of facing near annihilation from the Category 5 destruction wrought by Hurricane Katrina in 2005, the city of New Orleans had made an unbelievable recovery. 78% of the city's population had returned, and tourism was close to pre-Katrina numbers. So this is that idea of giving a little bit of a story. This could almost be an anecdote. Notice that when I started the paragraph with a number, I wrote the number out. Okay, you cannot start a sentence with a number written in numeric form. So this is some background, introducing the idea of Hurricane Katrina, how it affected the city of New Orleans, and then in this case, I'm making a slight transition to my topic because I'm not going to be talking specifically about New Orleans, the city, but about the effect of Hurricane Katrina in other places. So this, however, indicates that we're shifting. But notice that it's not a dramatic shift. I'm still on the topic of Katrina. I'm not moving from Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans to the tsunami in India. I'm still in the same family of discussion. Outside the city, however, another community continued to struggle, with no expectation of ever returning to its pre-Katrina conditions. Coastal islands, wetlands, and forests, already weakened by years of erosion prior to the hurricane, suffered losses equivalent to 17 or 18 years of natural attrition. I'm developing that topic now, which is the natural impact. And then I'm building towards my thesis. As long as these natural bastions against Mother Nature remain impaired, coastal cities like New Orleans can expect greater damage with each hurricane system. Okay, so everything functions and moves together. And so if I have done these steps correctly, if I've gotten the reader's attention, given background, developed their interest, established rapport, walked them toward my thesis statement, then I will have answered the important questions. All right, and these examples come from an essay about No Child Left Behind. Okay, if the introduction is effective, it's answered the question, what is this about? Okay, we see an opening, couple of open sentences in the introduction. American education is not the same today as it was 100 years ago. In order to combat the nation's education crisis, President George Bush signed the No Child Left Behind Act. The goal of No Child Left Behind was to ensure that all American students were receiving a quality education. So all of those sentences pulled out of an introduction tell me, okay, this paper is going to be about No Child Left Behind. Why do I need to read it? Okay, well, again, still in the introduction, the author said, however, the No Child Left Behind Act, once praised for its impending success, is quickly becoming the source of many problems in America's education system. Oh, okay, so I'm reading this because you want to show me, or you want to explain to me why this is a problem, why it's not a solution. And then finally, a good introduction answers the question, what do you want me to learn? And this is usually what the thesis tells the reader. So this would be the thesis statement from this No Child Left Behind essay. After 9 years of No Child Left Behind, it is clear that America needs an alternative method to improve education. All right, so what you want me to do is agree with you, or you want me to learn why we need a change or an alternative method. Okay, for those of you who are a little bit visual, you can think about it like this. You're starting out fairly broad with that attention getter, but not so broad that you're on a completely different continent than the topic of your essay. You're transitioning and moving towards more specific statements that relate to the specific topic that you are going to discuss in this essay. And then finally, you get to your most specific point when you identify your thesis statement and really lay out for the reader what will be the main idea of this essay.